So I guess we can just get started. As you can see, I'm in a non-ideal presentation space because Comcast in Northern California is out right now. So I am in the parking lot of a shopping center in my car. So apologies for any kind of background noise that we have. So today I want to talk about an interesting kind of debate that I've had in a couple companies about the value of using human raters and kind of somewhat manually generated label data as an input to kickstart machine learning projects. And specifically, there's a subset of problems where it's very hard to replicate human judgment, especially without a large corpus of prior human judgments on specifically the thing that you're trying to train for. So let's go over the agenda. The other manifestation of the fact that I'm sitting in my car doing this presentation is that I don't actually have the most updated version of my presentation, which is unfortunate. So most of this is in here, but I'll also hang out after the session, either in a breakout room or in the main session, and answer additional questions. And I can go through some of the slides that didn't make into this deck. But I'll give you a little background on me, some intro on kind of how to think about leveraging human decision-making and scenarios where it makes sense, a framework that I've used or observed and used in a few cases, working at Twitch, which is owned by Amazon, and now working at YouTube, which is part of Google. And then I'll talk specifically about the most current work that I've been doing, which is on using hybrid human machine systems and building augmented machine systems for brand safety at YouTube. So determining whether or not a video is suitable for us to run ads against it, which is kind of a contentious topic at the moment. And I'll be keeping my eye on chat. And I'm on a bit of a delay, but if you have any questions, feel free to put them in there. If I can answer them in line, I will. Otherwise, I'll do it at the end. So my background. I got my BA in material science and engineering management at Cornell, went on to do a master's and PhD in material science and computational chemistry, which is where I started doing kind of machine learning and optimization. I then moved out to California and started working at an app company because that's what you do. But we built a contextual contacts app that quantified social tie strength between people, effectively kind of a Euclidean distance in the relationship space. Had a few patents, did that for 4 years, got acquired by Tinder. I didn't want to move to Venice Beach, so I stayed up here. I moved over to Twitch, where I started as the head of community data science, but ended up absorbing a few other groups to be the head of product data science. So basically all like new feature experimentation, trust and safety work, which is the case that I talk about a bit later in the talk. So automated moderation systems that were tunable for every broadcaster so that they could moderate their chat more effectively. And then I've only been at Google for 9 months now. So I tried to make the distances true to scale. I've just been at each place about 4 years for some reason. So leveraging human decision making. So this is, a very deep quote. Data science has become more sophisticated with the introduction of deep learning, unsupervised machine learning, generative adversarial networks, all those things. Many have argued that humans will play a continuously diminishing role in the development and application of algorithms for products. And I somewhat disagree and think that our models are only as good as the data upon which they're built, and that their insights are only as valuable as our ability to apply them. And so you may recognize this as the abstract of this talk. And so what do I mean by that? Our models are only as good as the data upon which they're built. If you're trying to model something that's inherently complex and requires nuance of human judgment, if you're not inputting data that's generated from high quality human raters, you're not going to be able to approach modeling it computationally. Sorry. And then the second component of that, the insights are only as valuable as our ability to apply them. So obviously, human rater systems can be high fidelity, but if they don't scale, then it's not fully utilizing their power. So the balance that I referred to in the title is building up a corpus of human labeled data and then kind of picking off parts of the classification problem where you have high confidence. And so you can narrow down your both your FTE or contract rater resources to focus on the things where there's the highest ambiguity or where there's novel trends, things that the classifier isn't trained on, so it can't detect. And so a key part of this is building tools that allow an individual, policy specialist at Google to action on hundreds of thousands of videos at a time, per se, with very high precision and high recall. And all of this drives towards this concept of intelligence augmentation. So the goal being not to build machines that think like humans, but designing machines and systems that help humans think better and can help them act more quickly and more efficiently. And so the way you get there is you leverage both qualitative and quantitative research so that you can use the user experience research and feedback from your users to identify what problems exist, validate them with data science. They're big problems, we should address them, and then have much more targeted efforts at modeling for specific outcomes as opposed to kind of a broader unsupervised learning. And there's a great book called Cognitive Collaboration, and he frequently references artificial stupidity as the result of models that just ingest a ton of data without any curation. So I quoted myself earlier. I wanted to quote somebody a bit more prestigious. So Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart, and you may know what I'm about to refer to, but when people ask me like what types of problems lend themselves to these hybrid human machine systems, I generally cite this case where the legal precedent for obscenity is set, and it's this very old guy saying, "I shall not today attempt to further define the kinds of material that I understand to be embraced within that shorthand description," referring to what the lawyer had said about pornography. And perhaps I will never succeed in intelligibly doing so, but I know it when I see it. And in this case, it's not that. So any case where you ask somebody to describe or classify, and they say, I can't tell you exactly why I know whatever it is I know, but I know it when I see it, that's a prime case for the utilization of human judgment. And just kind of a funny legal quote. So framework for building human machine systems. And this is an area where I don't have all the newest version of the slides, so bear with me. So I mentioned before kind of this working with UX research to source the problems you want to address, data science to validate and measure. When you identify that you need human expertise, it's great to have a big source of contract raters, but you do need internal experts to help guide that policy and make the tasks for raters as discrete as possible. And so when you have enough understanding of a problem that you can say, we understand what classifications we want for our product application, and we understand why things should fit into certain classifications. So a step beyond, I know it when I see it. Then you can define the tasks for kind of either programmatic platforms like Mechanical Turk, Ewok, user testing, contract raters from firms like Accenture, Wipro. They can help you scale, or even crowdsource data from open source or from responses on your product. I wanted to flag crowdsource data because the idea of reporting content and the reporting feature in the context of social media is very loaded and is often abused to express opinion rather than actually give signal. And so there's a great paper on this that speaks about how flags are a complex interplay between users and platforms, humans and algorithms, social norms and regulatory structures of social media. And it's definitely worth checking out. So once you've been able to put questions out in the field and get high quality human labeled corpus, then you can develop baseline classifiers, whatever methodology you want, depends on your feature set. But you want to just iterate the amount of specificity in the policies and the amount of detail in your classifications until you achieve an MVP where you can start leveraging that classifier in the real world, because that's also where you're going to start to get better data. And so here I was giving kind of, these were my pre-slides that have a bit more detail. So I'll skip this one. I think this one is the one that didn't make yeah, okay. So then once we have those baseline models, we want to leverage them to, I call it cut off the crust, like take out the things that you're highly confident, in my case, highly confident this is bad content, highly confident it's not bad content, so that you're not wasting rater resources on there. You can sample from areas where you have the most uncertainty and try and generate data that specifically addresses those ambiguous areas and helps you gain certainty where you lack it. And then those subject matter experts who are working on policy, you want them to to refine and target areas where the human raters are having difficulty making decisions. And you can detect where those are by looking at inter-rater consistency. So if the raters disagree a lot on something, it means that you're not asking the right question, or the policy isn't clear. And then the highest form that I'm going to talk about with the YouTube example, and don't have enough time left, unfortunately, is to develop tooling that empowers those subject matter experts and those specialists to detect new trends and things that are being missed by the classifier and narrow them down and enforce on them in bulk in a way that doesn't isn't scattershot, so is very targeted. So I'll talk a bit about how we do that at YouTube. So brand safety at YouTube, you've probably seen this both for YouTube, it's a problem for Facebook and Twitter as well. But if you run ads against objectionable content, advertisers get angry and they stop running ads. And so you have to ensure brand safety across a broad set of policies. And the threats are ever changing. So, QAnon wouldn't have been understood by the classifier 2 years ago. Coronavirus wouldn't have been understood by the classifier last year. So you have to be able to adapt quickly. And so when we're protecting against brand unsafe content, we're kind of down the filter from the should this be allowed on YouTube and just looking at a more nuanced thing of would brands be uncomfortable with their ads running against this content. And so reputational risk is long tail risk, which means that we have to address all leads, because even small volume but egregious things can cause advertisers to pull their ads from everywhere. If you tell a policy specialist this, there's thousands of potential raw leads, and so it's a problem that needs a machine partner solution. And so what we did is we developed tooling in a single vertically integrated UI that prioritized and clustered these leads that can come from a variety of locations, allowed specialists to take seed material that we know is bad and expand on it to identify other content in the corpus that is similarly bad, and then allowing them to enforce on it in a bulk sense and have those enforcement decisions feed back into the classifier so that it updates the baseline and they don't see that particular type of bad content recurring because it's being caught by the classifier beforehand. And so this is what that tool process looks like. We take leads from internal rater disagreements, advertisers, social media, press inquiries, user reports. We decide if it's something that violates our content restrictions, and then we expand on it either via some social network analysis and other kind of co-view matrices, or adding computer vision tags and other keywords, and then enforcing on it. We can have ongoing enforcement. We monitor the impact of that enforcement, and we update our classifiers. And so I just barely made it in time with that. So I didn't get to the Twitch case. But if people want to hang around, I can go into that as well. Amelia, if you're still here, should I create a breakout room or just stay in in the primary. Okay. I don't think she's here. But let's see how many people we still have. Still have 40 in here. So if there are any questions in chat, I can answer them now. I totally understand if you want to switch over to another talk. I wanted to speak a little bit about Automod because I didn't get to it in the primary part of the session. In a similar sense to brand safety, we're looking at moderating text content that broadcasters see in their chat. Similar to a lot of these cases, you can scale the number of human moderators that are trying to moderate chat room, but their efficiency drops as that chat room scale goes up. So the solution was for us to build passive filters and allow better tools for human moderators to act at a higher rate. And we started with some off-the-shelf solutions, had to tune it specifically to work for Twitch because the language is so different. The language of chat is so different than general discourse. We had vetted rule changes and recommendations that we made. So we actually did human tweaks to risk weightings within the algorithms. And kind of wrapping it up, we combined data scientists and qualitative learnings from UX researchers, a global network of admins and moderators who are part of our community, and we made a classifier that was tunable and kind of pitch perfect for the Twitch community, because that was the only way that we were going to get broadcasters to use it. If they felt like it was overly censoring their community, or that it wasn't catching enough things, it wouldn't have been successful. We did some trial runs with a very basic classifier, and the broadcaster retention was under 10% in 2 weeks. And by the time we started looking at rolling it out to the full platform with the kind of human curated and iterative process, over 90% of broadcasters have some level of auto moderation active on their channel, including all of our like major esports partners. So it was really a success story in gaming that you rarely see. But happy to discuss further if people want to email me or reach out. Yeah, but thanks for spending a little extra time with me and bearing with the parking lot call. Yeah, thanks so much.